Okay, so get this. Imagine your body just growing its own food.
Hmm.
No grocery shopping, no meal prep.
Wow.
Just like pure internal nano-powered nutrition.
Yeah, that's the idea behind nano farming, using nanotech
Uh-huh.
to create these like microscopic machines.
Mm-hmm.
They can basically work inside the body, keep us healthy,
Right.
and maybe even produce nutrients.
It's like straight out of science fiction, you know?
I know, it's pretty wild.
But it sounds like it could totally revolutionize how we think about health.
Oh, absolutely.
So is this even possible?
Well, let's break it down. So nanotechnology is basically the manipulation of matter at an atomic and molecular scale.
Okay.
And it has a ton of potential applications in medicine, like
I've heard about
nanobots that can repair damaged tissue and organs.
like a self-healing system.
Exactly. Like, imagine your body could just heal itself without needing surgery.
That'd be incredible.
Right. And then there's the idea of nanobots that can actually synthesize nutrients.
Like right in our bloodstream.
Yeah, potentially reducing our reliance on external food sources.
Whoa, so you're saying we might not even need to eat food anymore?
Well, it's still a long way off, but it's a possibility.
I mean, think about the implications.
Yeah.
Like for astronauts on long missions or people in areas with food shortages.
Absolutely. It could completely change how we approach nutrition globally.
But how would that even work? I mean, are we talking about like tiny robots with spatulas and mixing bowls in our arteries?
No, not quite. It's more about using chemistry and biology at the nanoscale.
Okay.
So, for example, nanobots could be programmed to assemble specific molecules, creating nutrients from the building blocks already in our bodies.
So like little factories.
Yeah, like
Like
tiny programmable factories operating at the molecular level.
That's mind-blowing. And are scientists actually making progress in this area?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of exciting research happening.
Like what?
Well, one area is targeted drug delivery,
Okay.
especially in cancer treatment. They're using nanobots to deliver chemo drugs directly to cancer cells.
Which would mean fewer side effects, right?
Exactly. And then there's tissue engineering using nanoparticles to help repair damaged tissues like bone and cartilage.
So we could regrow entire organs someday.
Well, that's the long-term goal.
Mm.
There's also research on artificial red blood cells, which could revolutionize how we treat lung diseases and do blood transfusions.
Wow, the potential benefits are huge.
They are, but we also have to consider the challenges and risks.
Like what?
Well, first and foremost, safety.
Right.
We need to make sure these nanobots won't malfunction or cause harm.
So like designing fail-safes for robots smaller than a human cell?
Yeah, it's incredibly complex.
bet.
And then there's the challenge of getting them to work in the human body.
Because our immune systems would attack them.
Exactly. Our immune system is great at identifying foreign invaders. So nanobots would have to be designed to evade those defenses.
It's like a microscopic game of hide and seek.
Pretty much. And then, of course, there are the ethical considerations.
Right, I imagine there are a lot of those.
Yeah, like how do we ensure this technology is used responsibly? What are the long-term consequences of manipulating our biology at such a fundamental level?
It seems like we're just scratching the surface of understanding this technology.
We are. It's still early days, but the possibilities are incredible.
It sounds like nanofarming offers both amazing opportunities and some very real challenges.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a powerful technology, and we need to approach it with both enthusiasm and caution.
For sure. Well, before we get into the complexities of those challenges, let's shift gears a bit and talk about some of the bigger implications of a world where nanobots could manage our nutritional needs.
Okay.
Stay with us.
So, we were talking about nanobots handling all our nutritional needs.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about, like, what would happen to food?
I know, right? It's such a huge part of our lives. Like all our culture and traditions revolve around food.
Totally. Like, what about holidays or birthday cake?
Even just like grabbing coffee with a friend.
Right? It's not just about fuel, It's about emotions and memories and connecting with people.
Exactly. So if we didn't need to eat for sustenance, would we lose something important about being human?
That's a really interesting question. There's a whole field of study,
Really?
called the psychology of eating.
Mm.
And it looks at how our feelings and memories, even social conditioning, like, affect what we choose to eat.
Wow.
And it suggests that even if we had nanobots taking care of all our nutrients, we'd probably still have a psychological and cultural relationship with food.
So like we might not need that late night pizza for energy,
Right.
but we might still crave it.
Exactly. But there's some other big questions, too.
Yeah, like what about access?
That's a huge one. If nano farming is expensive,
Yeah.
It could make health disparities even worse.
Creating like a divide between the haves and the have-nots.
Exactly. And then what about the impact on the environment?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about
If
that.
you don't need to grow crops anymore, what happens to all that farmland?
And the farm.
Right. It could have a huge ripple effect on
No.
ecosystems, global trade, the whole thing.
It's like we have to consider all these different angles.
We do.
The individual, the social, the economic, even the environmental.
It's all connected.
Yeah, technology never exists in a vacuum, does it?
Nope.
Yeah.
It's always part of a bigger system. And as we're going into this uncharted territory with nano farming, we really need to be careful about unintended consequences.
I agree. So it sounds like nano farming is exciting.
Yeah.
But it's also something we need to approach with a lot of caution and thought.
Absolutely. We can't just focus on the benefits.
Yeah.
We have to think about the complexities and the potential downsides, too.
Well said. Okay, so before we get into those challenges, I want to talk about one more thing.
Okay.
Because the sources mentioned that nano farming could actually enhance our experience of food, not just replace it. So what does that even mean? All right, so we're back, and we've been talking about this crazy idea of nano farming the human body.
Yeah.
And how it could like totally change how we think about health and food and everything. But before we wrap up, I got to ask about this thing you mentioned, this idea that nano farming could actually make our food experiences better,
Oh, yeah.
not just replace them. So like, how's that even possible?
Well, imagine like taste and texture, not being limited by the actual ingredients anymore.
Okay.
Like, what if a steak could have the texture of a peach? Or a salad could melt in your mouth like chocolate?
Whoa, that's kind of blowing my mind.
Right. It's like a whole new level of culinary creativity.
So you're saying chefs could like team up with scientists
Yeah,
and design dishes that have any flavor or texture you can imagine.
exactly. And they could even tailor the nutrition to each person's needs.
So it's like personalized nutrition meets molecular gastronomy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, something like that.
And you said it could help with food allergies too.
Yeah, imagine nanobots that could break down allergens in food so anyone could eat anything.
Wow, that would be amazing.
That'd be a total game changer.
It really seems like we're on the verge of a whole new era of food.
Yeah, where the lines between science and cooking get totally blurred.
But even with all this amazing potential,
Yeah.
we got to remember that we're talking about like changing our relationship with food.
Right.
Something that's so basic to being human.
It's a huge deal.
Like we've been saying, nano farming raises a lot of big questions
Definitely.
about ethics and access and the environment.
It's not just about what we can do, but what we should do.
Exactly. Well, this has been a pretty mind-blowing deep dive.
It has.
I think the big takeaway for me is that nano farming is a truly powerful technology.
Yeah.
And it could change not just how we live, but also how we think about ourselves and the world around us.
It's a fascinating and complex topic for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
So thanks to everyone for joining us on this exploration of nano farming.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
We hope it's given you some things to think about.
And maybe even some food for thought.
Haha, see you next time.